What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Core Podcast covering all things Apple TV. My name is Jim, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Luke and Paul. And today we begin our coverage of Vince Gilligan's follow-up to Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, Apple TV's Pluribus. Today we are covering Season 1, Episodes 1 and 2, titled We Is Us and Pirate Lady. This is it, guys. The show we've been waiting a very, very long time for. Luke, I'm going to start with you. What did you think of those first two episodes?
It's so tough to put into words my thoughts because I just finished binging them and we wanted to get our instant reactions, not too much time spent on the internet seeing what other people are saying. So this is all going to come out organically. And I hate to sound hyperbolic. That was up there with my favorite pilots of any TV show I've ever seen. I think it's right up my alley being Black Mirror, sci-fi-esque. You can even lump in dystopian alien type of genre.
Yeah.
Like it's a type of show made for me with Vince Gilligan writing, and you could just feel the masterclass of a showrunner that he is in these first two episodes, whether it just be how he built tension, the writing of the dialogue. He asks some amazing questions. He has the characters ask some amazing questions that are things that us as audience members are just asking ourselves, and we'll get into all of Carol's questionings. I think they went down a good checklist of clearing things out and just setting us up for such an interesting premise. But at the same time, we have 10 million questions left. I just thought these were an amazing first two episodes. I'm so excited to talk about this, and I'll leave it at that until we start breaking down the episode.
Yeah, going in with a completely blank slate and just kind of expecting quality because it's Vince Gilligan was so fun, and it was just still so rewarding because, like Luke said, it's just like insanely good storytelling for such little dialogue sometimes. Like I feel like I know so much about Carol, and we've only known for like 2 episodes, and I love the mystery, the nuance, the little teasing of the clock counting down and clock counting up. Just external devices that are tools to build the suspense is so fun. So I have enjoyed these first 2 episodes tremendously.
Yeah, I really, really, really agree with you guys. I've been waiting a long time for Pluribus to come out ever since it was announced. If you guys know me, if you're a fan of the Core Podcast, if you're a fan of Bingetown TV, you know that my favorite television show of all time is Breaking Bad. Top 5 to top 10 is Better Call Saul. One of the biggest things, my biggest regrets, I guess, is that I was never able to cover either one of those. We weren't a podcast at the time. Better Call Saul, we did overlap a little bit, but it was too far towards the end of the coverage. The other one is dark, of course, but sticking with Vince Gilligan here and sci-fi, we got the genre we love, and we got Vince Gilligan. So I'm super happy. This exceeded expectations, and that is so hard to say for me. When I'm talking Vince Gilligan, my expectations are sky high. And Luke, I agree with you. This is one of the best pilots I have ever seen. So happy with it. We have 2 episodes so far. Props to Apple TV for dropping 2 at the same time. I saw in an interview Vince Gilligan was happy as well that they dropped 2 at the same time because episode 1 really does give you that horror genre, the sci-fi genre, the invaders of the body snatchers kind of deal where you're still not fully sure where they're going. And then episode 2 really starts to give you some more explanation of where they want to go with this TV show, even though there's still a million ways it can go. But Vince Gilligan was happy with them dropping 2. I'm very happy. I want more. I do want to say here, this show was being made, conceptualized by Vince Gilligan for 8 to 10 years. I think he said it first came to his mind during him working on Better Call Saul and right before El Camino. So this is a long time coming. He originally thought it was going to be a male protagonist, a male main character, but then working with Rhea Seehorn on Better Call Saul, he immediately was like, I'm writing this for her. I have to write something for her. And this ended up being what he wrote for her, and she is 100% nailing it. And to your guys' point, one more thing before we start with the coverage. Vince Gilligan has said, and Paul, you said it, you're like, I feel like I know her with very little dialogue. Vince Gilligan is on podcast interviews saying that what he loves about her is that you could just like look at her face and see what she means. Everything that she wants to convey is her facial acting. and you don't really need her to be saying much for you to understand exactly how she's feeling.
Two things. One, that fact you just said, or that fun fact about her, Vince Gilligan switching male to female. Do you think that was just like an Easter egg nod about the book itself, which then actually plays a part in the story because the character of her next book or of her existing book was also supposed to be that in reverse? So that's a
Yeah,
pretty
it
cool
could
nod.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. And it obviously also says a lot about what we'll have to figure out what we're specifically going to call them, but what
Mhm.
they are trying to do when they're trying to, for lack of a better term, manipulate her or make her happy. So we will get into that. And another thing that we just need to quickly say is Vince Gilligan was on the X-Files. That's one of his first big breaks, one of his first big jobs. He has said that he always thought he would eventually get back to sci-fi. He didn't know specifically that Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul would be followed up by sci-fi, but he knows sci-fi. Okay,
That's
he's
good.
he's had some good experience with sci-fi. So
Wait, real
let's
quick,
start.
let's do it now. Let's clarify because I think until we get more terminology from the show itself, I think just the easiest way to go about this, I've been using infected versus the immune, just
Okay.
because it's also it seems like the rats spread it too initially, so we can just use that until we get more, just for ease of
Yeah,
conversation purposes. Does that work with you guys? Just the infected and then the immune.
that works. I've been calling them the hive, like the hive mind.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Either way, same thing.
in my notes. I was started writing infected, and then I was like, should I be saying affected because they're all
Yeah,
affected?
you
But
don't know exactly. It's a virus, but not a virus.
it's
It
weird.
says our presidential stand-in, Davis Taffler. But let's start off here. We're going to go with pretty much scene by scene, but I just want to let everyone know here that we're not going to break it down very, very deeply. This is 2 episodes. We don't want you guys sitting here for 2 hours. It will be a little bit more broad strokes for this, but we will deep dive once we get into episodes 3 and forward. We'll leave our big theories and questions for the end. Obviously, they're going to sprinkle in towards or whenever we're actually talking about something that pertains, but because it's the first 2 episodes and the theories could be widely wrong,
Mhm.
we'll humor people or let people humor us, if that's what you want to say, at the end of the episode so that we don't make this episode majorly inflated. But so we have the past, technically. We have the countdown that you were alluding to, Paul, and we have scientists obsessing over repeating here, and they're trying to figure out what this signal means. They're very pumped that they have it. They're very pumped that they found it. They find out or they believe it's a 4-frequency signal coming from 600 light years away. So the antenna would need to be the size of Africa. And coming from something where we knew it was lightly, for now, Vince Gilligan says lightly sci-fi, and hilariously, the general description of this show is the most miserable person on earth is trying to cure the world from happiness. So you don't know what the heck
Mhm.
this show is going to be about. And Vince Gilligan said in an interview that he said that his pitch for Breaking Bad was a chemistry teacher turns into Scarface. It's another one of those things where he has fun with that. You don't know what it's really going to be. And having it open with this, I was like, okay, immediately we got that light sci-fi that he was talking about. What did you guys think
Mhm.
of this? I don't want to say, well, I guess prologue is an okay way of saying it.
And we're looping in all the science scenes, right? Just
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much we
fine.
can
Let's do it.
take it through the infection that starts
Sure.
with the rat bite. This was awesome. They got me on board right away by saying that the signal was coming from 600 light years away. I was not expecting anything even remotely extraterrestrial. And they kind of
Right.
said later that it's not really extraterrestrial and it's more like a biological urge or fate of what they would be doing as biology to what they're leading towards. We still have no idea. That's going to be theory
Right.
central. That's going to be the premise of all of our guesses. But this was a great start. I love the way that he just looped in worldwide scientists, everybody wondering what this is. And then when they figure out what it is, which is like almost genetic coding, I'm a layman when it comes to that. I'm a business major. I was not science. Maybe that's more Paul's field there. I'm not really understanding
Mhm.
the whole RNA, genetic sequencing. I'm assuming that's what it really was. It's genius. This is exactly how to hook me. And it kind of also, if anybody has seen Netflix's Three Body Problem, has some similarities there too, where it's always about like the source coming from a very far away place and what Earth is doing with it. That one is way darker, off the bat. This one is trying to almost subvert expectations, where you are agreeing with Carol this whole time that it feels like one of the movies we've all seen. It's clearly going to turn dark. But at the same time, since they're talking about it so much, how fun would it be if it doesn't turn dark and she is the darkness in the show? I could just see it going so many different ways, but this was an amazing way to set it up. You felt the tension from the scientists, and I was bought in right away.
Yeah, I loved it. I was eating this stuff up in the beginning when they're like 600 light years away and 4 frequency signal, and it's a mystery, but they do give us like a slight soft explanation at the end of the episode, so we're not completely left, with our just shrugging our shoulders. We have a somewhat idea, but we have so many more questions too, and I just loved how they showed everything. It felt like the science montage and all the rats was just like probably just so fun to make, because I don't know what they were doing, but it looked right? It looked like they were doing professional stuff.
Yeah, and Vince Gilligan said that he used a lot of consultants for this to try to make as much sense as possible, and that's all we can ask for, literally. I'm just like you, Luke. You could say something as long as it kind of makes sense, and I like where the story is going, I'm in. So, Paul, you're already talking about it. We start getting into the scientist stuff where they're actually doing these experiments. We're breaking down the days. So we start at I had 439. You have 436. Either way, we're off by 3 days. It's 430 something. Then we go on to 71 days, and then we go on to 29 days. But the scientists are running these experiments on the rats. But then we get the actual day where patient 0 comes to light, right? And we have 2 scientists come in. They meet the security guard. There's the donuts that everyone was wondering what the heck was going on in this teaser trailer when the person is licking these donuts. The security guard leaves the donuts for everybody at work. They're at all hours of the night. They're actually saying they think they're getting nowhere. They go up. They're trying to decide what they're going to do with these rats, and one is seemingly dead. So the female character takes out the seemingly dead rat, and she's like, I can't feel a heartbeat with these gloves. She starts feeling around. She takes her gloves off, and then boom, the rat bites her. She runs to clean it up. The rat is running around. The other character grabs it, and immediately she starts having her seizure/shaking fit.
Dr. Jen, what are you doing? Taking your gloves off in the lab? Come on. And then she did say, like right at the end, right before she gets bit, she was like, wait, no, there is a heartbeat. It's strong. If I didn't know any better, I'd think, and then she kind of gets bit. But I assume she was going to say, I think it's playing dead, is what I thought.
Yeah, I like that.
So is that like, okay, so the rat was so smart that it knew to play dead to get released? Was it getting affected by this signal as well? And that was just like the catalyst because it knew that's how to accelerate it. So there's so many questions, and I feel like the rewatch value is going to be amazing because of like the time jumps and everything. They're giving us timestamps exact.
I fully agree, and we're about 12 minutes in, and we're getting ready to talk a theory. But it is interesting to think about when it comes to these rats. Are they infected because it was a force infection, for lack of a better term, or can the animals be infected by whatever this is? We know that they released all the animals from the zoo. We know that they unchained all of the pets and the dogs, they say. Is it because they're very passive and they don't want to hurt any animals, or is it because the animals can spread the infection? Now, the rat obviously could spread the infection because it bit Jen. And the question here is, did the rat purposely bite Jen to spread it? As they said, the hive mind / the infected, it said, we spread like we breathe. That's what we want to do. We want to spread this, whatever this is, we need to spread it. Did the rat do that on purpose, or was it just like an instinct? I kind of like what you're saying, Paul, about this playing dead thing and making her grab it and then having her be bit. But Luke, what are your thoughts?
I am against the idea of the animals being able to organically spread it. If they're actually like inject it with like the genome that was described through the messaging, that's totally fine. And how this happens is totally fine. But the conversation that happens at the end of episode 2, when they're getting real answers, when they're eating lunch, makes it seem like they're not deceiving them about anything. Why would they lie to them about saying we don't kill animals? That would be the same thing as saying we don't kill each other. It would almost be deceptive in the way that they're talking about it, as if implying that they're holding some information back. So as of right now, I'm actually blindly trusting the hive mind, the infected.
Yeah.
And until I am given a reason otherwise, I'm going to assume that the only reason that the rat was acting like that was because it was seizing. Maybe the
Right.
biology works a little bit different. And then that was it, fully becoming aware and then doing the kissing thing. That's the best way
Right.
that it could happen in the moment. But otherwise, it wouldn't happen naturally.
And the last thing I'll say to that is I'm interested in the fact that you're saying you're blindly going to trust the hive mind. They have seemingly been very honest.
Mhm.
Could that be a play against the 12/13, if you count Carol, that are they the enemy? Are the hive mind / infected the antagonist? Did they, I mean, they said straight up, we can't hurt you. We don't, it's like literally against everything that we believe in. We will not hurt you. If we step on a bug, we will be very, very upset. We'll try not to. So the rat biting is hurting somebody. So if you go one way where you're saying, Luke, where the rat did it because it was under duress and it's just what a rat does because it was being held and wanted to get away, that's one thing. If it was trying to spread it and it bit her, then that means they're kind of lying about being able to hurt people.
Yeah, I think it breaks the rules. Not that there are many and there are no rules that can't be broken. Of course, we're 2 episodes into this thing. There's too much guesswork going on here. Like, there's too many moving parts here. Like, because the animals got inorganically infected compared to everybody else, like using the messaging. Like, you don't know if it works the same. Rats can't spread through saliva by kissing your hand. So the only way it could do it would be getting into the bloodstream. So there's just too many moving parts for me to
Yeah.
really comment it past that.
I feel you. All right. So next up, we're going to actually meet our main character here. And we probably thought we were maybe meeting our main characters, but of course we're not. So we meet Helen and we meet Carol here, and she is at her book signing for The Winds of Wycaro, or what is it? They say Wicaro, and they're like, no, that's not how you say it. So she's with all of her fan boys and fan girls, mainly fan girls. And we find out pretty quickly after this whole thing is over that she's not happy with the way that her professional career is going. This tells us a lot about Carol. She doesn't believe in what she's doing. She thinks it's pretty much nonsense. Helen is very optimistic and says, like, if you make somebody happy, then you should be happy with yourself. And that helps Carol a little bit, but she's unfulfilled. She doesn't like what she's doing. She has a passion and she has something she's been working on for 4.5 years. And she makes sure to let you know it was 4.5, not 5.
Mhm.
And she's scared to release that because she's releasing this nonsense that is so popular.
Mm-hmm.
Bitter Chrysalis is the name of the book. And I wonder if in the mundane, like apocalyptic society of things that she's looking to do, if she actually will finish this book and put it out and see if it makes somebody happy. Because it seems like Helen was harking on that. And then the recap for episode 2 also reiterated that line. So I wonder if that's going to be a plot line of just making one person when there's only 12 people in the world happy. Is that art? Is that worth doing something? So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like
again,
that.
I feel like we learned so much in just a short montage of her interacting with her fans, being polite to them, but then you learn that she hates it and this like, nonsensical crap that she's putting on a page. And she's so interesting. I love
Mhm.
her. I love Carol as a character.
Yeah, her as Kim Wexler she was my favorite character in Better Call Saul, or at least one of my top 3 favorites. She's just going to be the best part of this show. Of course, she's got to carry it. And just like you said, Paul, earlier, you know everything about her. You see the breathalyzer in her car. She clearly had DUIs in the past, and she has issues with alcohol this entire time. She's just, not to say she's one dimensional, but she almost is in a strategic way that's going to play well with the world around her, where being that type of person is just going to play so well. It's so weird that she's going to be the one that's trying to save the world and make everybody happy. But that's what you get from these two. They have a good chemistry. It sucks that Helen ends up dying later. She was the manager or the girlfriend or both. What were you getting from that?
Yeah, I would say both. I mean, she was
Okay, because
definitely the
there was
girlfriend
pictures
slash
in
wife.
the
What?
house
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. But I think we can kind of just cruise along, like the whole setup. You get their dynamic, you see what's going on. They go to the bar, and then they go outside to smoke the cigarettes. And what I want to call out is, tell me what I was supposed to take away from when Carol is looking up and seeing the four planes fly by. They were just repeating the sequencing that was going to take over the world, right? Is
So
that what kind of was
I
going
thought it
on
was
there?
release. I thought it was releasing something.
So my
That could
thought
work too.
was when Carol and Helen go out to get a smoke, on the TV in the background says like military
Yeah,
base on lockdown.
and it
In
actually
epi-
says Air Force, I believe. So it
yeah,
is like the planes. Yep.
Hmm.
in
Okay.
episode 2, Zojia slash Pirate Lady is giving us a monologue or a reasoning explanation saying that we were slowly building us up, but when the military found us out, we needed to escalate things.
Right.
So I think this 3 hours and 6 minute marks when Carol and Helen are going out for a smoke, or I'm sorry, that was when they arrived from the airport, and then I'm assuming this 3 hours and 6 minutes was all leading to them having that smoke, and that smoke
Hmm.
was
Right.
close to that 0 mark when everybody
Yeah.
kind of ceases. So a lot
Yes.
of questions.
0 is the infection moment of the world, I would say,
Yes, which
as far as
poses,
they can get.
yeah, poses a lot of questions. Like they must have been infected before, and then it was triggered in that moment. It feels like, but who knows? There's so much left that we can theorize for hours. But
Hmm.
yeah, I thought this whole sequence of events of Carol kind of escaping the bar, getting Helen to their home, was an unbelievable masterclass of suspense and horror for
Hmm.
a character that was never once in danger.
Yeah.
She
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody was
True.
chasing her. She was never running away from cars. She was
Right.
just it was just nonsense kind of happening around her, and it was horrifying. I thought it was so good.
It really reminds me of I forget it's the first scene or maybe it's like the second scene of The Walking Dead with Rick Grimes waking up in the hospital and just like what the hell is going on? I know
Yeah.
she got to live the transition versus Rick waking up after the coma
It's like The
or
Last
whatever.
of Us almost.
Exactly. So it was just
Yeah.
like you're saying, like the tension was there. Definitely a mistake when she drove by the cops by not going and snagging a gun. I feel like that would have been one of my
Yeah.
first thoughts would be like protect
Yeah.
yourself a little bit here. But we all saw it coming when she's in the truck that I thought Helen and the guy were going to wake up, but it ends up just being the
Yeah.
guy in the front. But it's all good because none of them are being aggressive to her. She makes her
Right.
way to the hospital. It's just such a weird, eerie scene. My one question, which is stupid, but I'm curious what you guys think, was the baby also infected, and was the rocker shaking itself? Like babies are also being able to talk, you think?
So I don't think babies can talk or anything. I mean, that would be crazy. I
Because
mean,
why
they can
not?
do anything. Right, exactly. That is true. I saw the lady was holding the car what is it?
Hmm.
What the car
Yeah,
seat,
the baby
and it was
carrier. Yeah.
shaking because of her. And then Carol looked pretty disgusted slash horrified when she actually looked in. So I would say either the baby, something bad happened to it, or it was also seizing.
Seizing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
a good.
think it was by design that they didn't show us. And going back to what you're saying, Paul, about horror, and then Luke, what you're saying about The Walking Dead slash The Last of Us, we have a scenario where it's so similar but so different with these people turning into zombies that are going to eat your flesh in the two Walking Dead and The Last of Us. And in this one, I feel like it's almost scarier just the way that it was shot, where you're seeing these people cease and you're seeing it through the eyes of Carol. She has no idea what's going on. She's scared for her life, but she's mainly scared for Helen's life. And then everybody just, for lack of a better term, turns on at the
Hmm.
same time and is fully in sync, knows her name, and they're all turning and talking. It is horror, but it's like you said, she's not in danger. It's so great.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
instead of zombies, you got people that are like, "Hey, Carol, like you need help
Yeah,
packing up? Like you're
dude.
good."
And this is obviously flash forwarding a little bit, but when she's trying to get into her house, and obviously we could just talk about it, but
Yeah,
I
we're
will
there.
say, yeah, I will say really quickly, I'll ask this question to you guys. I mean, Luke, you already kind of answered it. Did you think there was a chance she wasn't dead, meaning Helen, or did you think that she was dead and that was it? Like, Paul, I guess I'll ask you because Luke kind of said he was wondering if she would wake up.
Hmm.
Oh, I definitely thought she was gonna wake up. but as soon as everybody else stood up
And
and
she
she
didn't.
didn't, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
did she hit her head when she fell? Are there other
And she
people that will
did.
just, yeah. So that was another question I had was, do some people just die when this happens, or are they just doing something or a victim of the
Right. The
circumstance where
circumstance. Right.
they
Yeah.
die like from a normal injury that would normally kill them, like hitting her
Yeah, you
head on the
saw
street?
the cook was bleeding out in the bar too. He hit his head on the ground and there was just a blood
Right.
pool. He definitely died. Yeah.
And it
Gotcha.
was definitely at first a weird shot when Helen was on the ground because it was definitely, after you look at it from another angle, a shadow behind her head. But I thought she was bleeding out too when I first
Mhm.
saw it. But it didn't seem like she was bleeding when she was picked up. But either way, the headshot killed her. And I don't know which way would have been scarier, having Carol be not infected and then Helen, the person she loves, being part of the hive mind and her having to deal with that versus what we did get with Helen passing away and Carol having to deal with that grief. It could have gone both ways, and I'm sure the writers were thinking about both ways. But either way, she's freaked out. She needs to get the hell out of there. She gets in the truck. She backs up. At first, when she backed up, I thought she was just like hitting people, but it was just
Mhm.
like whatever, like it was the gurney that was in her way. She runs home, and this is, I mean, we're talking The Shining with the twin little girls here. These two kids helping her get in the house. Carol, first of all, was hitting the door. I guess
Dude.
she's like scared, but I was like, that is weak as hell, man. You need to hit that thing a little harder. I know she's probably depleted from all of the shock and the scares, but the two little kids coming up, and I guess they're not little, but 12, 13 teenagers, whatever, saying in unison, hey, Carol, let's help you. You remember back in whatever it was, 2016, when you lost the key, you left it under this flower pot. And we now know it's because they're in Helen's head, and Helen
Yeah.
lived there too. So Helen knows that. So Carol gets in and she's freaking out. She's trying to close everything up. And this is what I was going to say when I said I was flash forwarding. I thought it was so creepy and cool when she's trying to block everything up and she starts to put the pillows on the windows and she's watching out the one last window and she's watching the people take the dead bodies. And then the one lady looks up at her and waves, knowing
Mhm.
Yeah.
exactly where she's looking from. I was like, oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
good.
They can just always follow, always track. She's trying to figure out what's going on. She's hearing, stories of memories that they weren't a part of. She's freaking out. And I think seeing everybody just clean up the bodies too is just like, what are they doing? Like, what is the goal? And then I assume it's just because they're trying to clean up to please her, to make her happy, because that's what it's all about. You don't want to see dead bodies because that might be jarring, and they don't want any of those bad emotions. So just
Yeah.
such weird vibes.
Yeah, and I also think that this is now their world. So they want to clean it up and get it back into order. So they're just worldwide cleaning up bodies, almost a billion bodies, which we find out, and then 11 million more
Mm.
Mhm.
after Carol's freak out. But New Mexico here, Albuquerque. We're going right back to Breaking Bad, Cash Money here. Vince Gilligan said that it actually wasn't because of Breaking Bad or anything like that. It wasn't like he's just like, hey, I'm going to make everything Albuquerque. From this storyline, it could have obviously been anywhere in the world. We know that
Mhm.
from the other members of that were not immune. But he said that when he was working on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, he loved the crew so much and they became family that he was just like, we're doing Albuquerque. I want to work with them again. I want to give them that work. So that's the reason why we have Albuquerque as the setting. But here's the next part, which is so good, more horror. Now, I need to call this out. My mom would be so upset with me if I didn't call this out. So we have Peter Bergman from The Young and the Restless. I have never, dude, it is so funny because this was one of the trailers. And we've talked about this on the Core podcast during our other podcast episodes, saying how these trailers are so perfect because you just don't know what's going on. And they showed him in part of this in one of the trailers. And I immediately was like, Young and the Restless, what's this guy doing here? And it's funny to me because, Paul, you obviously know this. You probably don't know the Young and the Restless part of it, but Robin's father, before he's recast, is from Young and the Restless as well. And then he left How I Met Your Mother and they recast him. But anyway, this guy did great
Yeah.
as Davis Taffler. And I just loved how she turns it on and she's like, God bless America. And she's like going channel to channel to channel, getting nothing. And then it just says like, Carol, call us. And the guy's just sitting there waiting. He's just
Yeah.
at the podium standing there.
This was the best scene of the pilot. That's not a surprise to anybody. And what I praise Vince Gilligan the most about, and I said this a little bit off the top, is lesser shows don't address the elephant in the room as directly as he does in this scene with what she's going through as a checklist in her mind. It's almost like she is an actual 2025 citizen and she's asking questions as if she has awareness of other fiction, of other alien invasions and other takeovers and Black Mirror episodes. She's asking all the right questions and the answers are so jarring because he's so calm in how he delivers it. He's just using the terminology of we, and that's freaking her out even more, and it's all compiling on each other. But at the same time, he's being as helpful as he can be. It's just such a geniusly written scene, and it gives it gives us, as watching the first episode with knowing nothing, so much to chew on and talk about. Like, this is podcaster's dream right here. And there's some things that get talked about right away. He says that their only goal is to fix society, reassure her, make sure everybody is happy and good. They talk right away and saying it's not an alien invasion, but these are the things that I love to hear as just watching, knowing that how much Vince Gilligan cares about the characters feeling like real people. And some of the other things are, we already talked about, or I mentioned the RNA sequencing. The way he describes it, the exact quote is that what this is that's affecting everybody, it's essentially psychic glue binding us all together. Fantastic. Like, hell yeah,
Yep.
sign me up for all of that. And then the last thing that I wrote down that he confirms, which we also already mentioned, is that as of this moment, there's 11 other known individuals in the world that are immune, that fit into the same category as Carol. And that right there is just so amazing. For that is how a show can be made out of this concept. And if this was just one episode, it would have been so fun to podcast on this, because we would have had so many thoughts and questions about the other survivors. How is this going to happen? Are they going to be feeling the same way that Carol is? Are they going to be antagonistic? Is some going to like it, like we find out that Kuma does? Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Just so many interesting concepts come from this exact conversation. And yeah, and I love it. And then it ends with 59 minutes count up, right? Now we're an hour into the infection. So just a fantastic scene all around.
It was masterful, like you're saying. The best scene, that's kind of what I'm walking away from right now, is just thinking about that and what she was experiencing and how I was experiencing the same questions, like you said. And it was so nice that Vince Gilligan is like checking things off the list that it's not, but still leaving the door wide open for it could be anything. And it's so jarring, like you're saying, like, come on, call, ask questions. As soon as like she does, like, you are in no danger. You're perfectly safe. Your life is your own. Your well-being is of the utmost importance to us. We're like, okay, so like the world's ending, but like she's not in danger. And then the kicker is, yeah, there are 11 other individuals like you, Carol, and eventually we'll find them and we will figure out what makes you different so we can fix it, so you can join us and join everyone. And that's when the fear kind of sets in. You're like, oh shit, maybe she is in trouble, but nothing is really hinting towards that because she's getting so much assistance, so much help. She's literally like getting her questions answered, but maybe in the end she really isn't. There is danger lurking. So it was so good. And that's when she hangs up the phone and kind of freaks out. And it was amazing.
Yeah. I fully agree. Wow. It was so good. When he said join us and he's like looking right into the TV at her. Wow. And it's crazy because, Paul, like you're saying, she's not in any danger. They are literally answering every single question that she's asking, but she's so distraught and so freaked out that she can't I, in my head, I'm like, dude, just sit down, ask every question in the world, ask every question you could ever think of in your life. But that's not logical for someone that's right in the middle, 59 minutes in to this apocalypse, or whatever you want to call it. And I have been talking about an interview. I do want to shout out The Watch. They were the ones covering from The Ringer. They were the ones talking to Vince Gilligan. There were a couple other interviews that I was working with when I was giving that information. But he was asked during that interview, it really does seem like you're up to date with how you're making these characters act and feel. And Luke and Paul, you were just saying it. It really does seem 2025. Like they've seen the movies, they've seen the TV shows, they know logically like this is bad. There's something going on, and I have to ask all these questions. And Vince was saying, yes, he conceptualized it 8 years ago. He was like freaked out a little bit about COVID because he was like, I don't want people to think this is a COVID story, and I don't want them to get sick of pandemic style stories, because he came up with it first technically, and then it kind of faded a little bit and it ended up working out. He said he's lucky that he basically is slow as molasses with writing, that it took 8 years for this to come out. But it obviously was updated to be modernized. And Rhea Seehorn as Carol was acting as if she says it multiple times, like, I've seen this movie, man.
So are you saying that COVID copied Vince Gilligan?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. That might be.
Sounds like what it is. Yeah. Okay.
So shout out to our not our president, someone on the cabinet, the only one that was left alive that had a suit on so that he could look presentable to Carol, which another slam dunk, because he says, you're talking to this individual, but you're also talking to every other person on planet Earth, which is awesome.
We is us.
Yes, we is us.
Name
so
of
then
the
we end the episode. Yep. Now we're working with Pirate Lady. I love this nickname. That's episode 2. So we're introduced in episode 2 to Zosha, and she's played by Carolina Widra, and I absolutely love this actress in this show right now. She is perfect in this role. Again, there's a creepiness, of course, to how these people are acting, but as you get towards the end of the episode, you could see that Carol kind of makes some connection to Pirate Lady. And it's not by accident, because there's a charmingness to Pirate Lady as well. And there's the nuance of how this is acted, where it's creepy, but you like her. It's very interesting.
Huge fan of this character. I think I'm
Yeah.
so happy with how episode 2 ends, because we're going to keep them as a cast. I think that's what's going on there. But just the whole sequence in the beginning was very Vince Gilligan-esque, where he does this all the time in Breaking Bad. You have these cold opens and it's usually silent. Things are happening, and then they result in how it's going to connect to the main story. And what we just see here is she leaves. I think she was somewhere in the Middle East. Maybe that's where she was. It seemed like I'm so bad at geography. Like I couldn't tell based on the cultures around her, but she ends up taking the plane and going to talk to Carol because of what we talked about earlier, how she's similar to a book character, right? Like the hive mind thought it would be a comfortable situation for her. And of course, this results in the first outburst. And I'm so excited to talk to you guys about this, because I feel like there's so many branching thoughts I have that are now implications because of how the hive mind reacts, how the infected react to the negative emotions. But we could just take it all the way through until this first seizure happens that she causes and kills 11 million people, right? Yeah.
The whole montage of Pirate Lady, aka like female Raban, aka Zosha, getting to Carol was just showing us that anybody can do anything as long as, they have the memories of everybody that was alive while they were infected. So some pilot gets off the plane, Zosha jumps right in, flies over. And, I was wondering, will the person that existed before the takeover have any effect on it whatsoever? And the answer is no, because all of these people are speaking other languages perfectly without accents. Like, it's not like this person was American, so when they try to speak other languages, they're going to have this accent. It's no, everything is possible under everybody's almost equal, besides the physical limitations, I guess, of like the muscle capacity and whatnot. So it was so fun to watch. And then also just, when Zosha finally does get there and helps dig the grave and everything like that, she's like, oh yeah, we've been kind of watching, drone 40,000 feet up there. Oh, you don't want it? Oh, don't worry, I just moved it. You're good. Yeah, you're good. And then, oh, there's an easier way. I just call in a mini excavator from a helicopter to help dig. It's just like showing unlimited resources. Everybody's friendly. Why are you freaking out, Carol? Right? It's almost like why this isn't a big deal, but it is. So it's
Sign me
twisting.
up.
Yeah,
Sign me up
right,
as of right now.
right.
We're going to talk about that, Luke. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the hive mind here is global, and they literally worked and, well, literally looked worldwide for the perfect person that looks like this character enough, brings her in, sends her through the shower, makeup, wigs, etc. She comes in looking like this person. Carol figures it out right away. But Carol here, if we're talking about the night before when she's speaking with the stand-in president, basically, he says, like, we can help you with your dead. And she's like, no, you're not coming in, you're not touching Helen. And then she wants to dig the grave herself. She's obviously very much in pain. The person she loves is dead. And you know the deal. We've seen this in television, movies, etc. before. You always want to be the one to dig the grave.
Hmm.
But she was just not able to do it. And Zosha comes in saying, you're going to have a heat stroke. Take some water. And then Carol looks her right in the eyes and dumps the water right in front of her face. And it's just showing us that these people, as the infected / hive mind, can be tested. And so far, they pass the test with flying colors. They are who they are, apparently. They
Hmm.
don't falter in being the nicest people in the world and only wanting the best for Carol and whoever's left. Now they want to infect these people that are left, and that's against what Carol wants, but they think they're doing the right thing. It's, the greater good thing. And of course, eventually Carol allows, I just love, she calls on the phone and she's like, okay, you can bring Zosha back. And then, but she has her freak out here. And Luke, I know you said you wanted to talk about it. She has her freak out big time. Everything in the past 24 hours, I guess, pretty much, is just exploding out of her. This causes Zosha to have this fit. Carol at first thinks it's just her, and she's like, oh, shit. What did I do, man? And
Hmm.
this is another thing. Like, Carol, as the description says, is the most miserable person on earth. But really, she's not, right? She has complex feelings and emotions. She loved Helen. Every time somebody is hurt, she wants to help them. She wanted to help the guy who crashed in the very beginning until Helen took precedence. And then she wanted to help Zosha after she felt bad that she caused her seizure and, caused her to get hurt. And she starts to go looking for help. And she finds that, again, everybody is having this seizure. What were your thoughts before we find out that she's the one who causes it? What were your thoughts here when you first started to see, again, another, for lack of a better term, worldwide seizure with this hive mind?
I'll be honest, I had no idea that it was induced by Carol at all. I, in my head, was like, the planet is rotating and in certain instances will be out of their frequency. And when that happens,
Mm.
all of the infected are just don't have the signal, so they're broken. But right away we hear that we can't deal with these negative emotions coming from you. And I immediately clicks why they're so friendly. They want her to be as happy and comfortable as possible because their
Mhm.
weakness is her being upset.
My initial take on it was that it was just happening to Zosha specifically, and that there is some sort of, even if it's not an alien race, like a person in control of what's happening here, and that Zosha was failing the mission by not convincing Carol
Mm,
to do something, so she was being like punished and killed. And then I thought Carol was gonna be like, I'm sorry to whoever, and like kind
right,
of play
right.
along to not have Zosha suffer. But then, that thought lasted 2 minutes in screen time
Right,
before you start
exactly.
seeing it happening to other people. Still could be the same idea where the whole hive is being punished for not accomplishing their mission, but that's something we probably won't get the answer for until a finale.
Yeah, yeah. And I agree with you, Luke. I took it as when it was first Zosha, I thought maybe the person, the individual, whatever, is weakened, and when Carol exploded at her, she's just like a fragile version of this person, so she just kind of like fainted from it and started having the seizure. And then when
Mhm.
I saw everybody seizing, I was like, is this still like not locked in, and the virus is working and then not working and then working and not working until it's finally like fully in place. But dude, I'm gonna say the guy hanging upside down when he's like, "We're good, thanks," like that was cracking me up. And Vince
Yeah.
Gilligan said he wanted to blend comedy into this, and there was definitely comedy in this episode and the episode before.
Dude, so many funny moments when she's offered in the bottle of water, and Zosha's like, Jarmel Gurkey says it's okay. He was the one at the Aquafina plant. He says to his knowledge, it's just water. It's just like they're connected to everybody, and it's so cool. Like in that moment, I'd be like, wait, so you can talk to anybody instantly? Did you infect like George R. R. Martin? Did you infect Brandon Sanderson? Can you tell
me
me?
the end of Game of
Yeah.
Thrones?
Tell me what they're thinking. Tell me
Or
what
you
their
could
plan
just
was.
make George R. R. Martin write faster.
Yeah. You know what would make me really happy? Getting those books. If you guys gave me those books.
Wow. Yes. Genius.
Carol's like, listen, I'm going to be miserable as hell until I read the end of Game of Thrones. So hook me up or you guys are going to be having seizures.
See, man, there's silver lining to all of this.
Yeah. It seems really nice, man.
Yeah, well, Kumba obviously sees his silver linings, but again, we're not there yet, but we are going to talk about it because I feel like that's one of the biggest moral gray areas or the black and white areas where this is the problem with what's going on in this world. And Carol comes back. She says, bring Pirate Lady back. Zosha comes back. They dig the grave together. Well, like you said, Paul, she brings in the excavator and they are able to bury Helen. Now, we talk about the 11 members or the 11 individuals, now 12, that are not infected. These are the immune people. And Carol says, I want to talk to them. And to your point, Luke, when you were saying that you're taking them at face value and what they're saying is literally, the truth, you would think that if the 12 are their enemy, 13 with Carol, that they would figure out a way to be like, nah, I don't think you guys should meet. But they're like, yo, they're worldwide. 5 of them speak English. The rest we can translate for you. She's like, nah, I just want to meet the 5 that can speak English. And obviously the reasoning for that is you don't want them to translate and you don't want there to be some miscommunications or purposeful miscommunications between them. So she gets on the plane and they're meeting. And we're meeting all these new characters here. And when we meet all these new characters, there's additional characters. And it is kind of shocking to me that every single one of these characters are acting a certain way, but none of them are acting like Carol. None of them.
I think a huge part of it is that they still had family. I agree. They were infected, but they weren't necessarily dead. So there was a sense of calmness, seeing a familiar face acting normal towards you. I'm sure it was jarring because they're not completely normal. When like Lakshmi's son like starts talking about gynecological methods of,
right.
I'm sure that's jarring, like not
right.
Because that's not a kid anymore. And I think that's also the reason, like, it's why they're not freaking out, basically, is it exactly what you're saying, is because they still have hope, maybe, that their family's still there. And even to go more into the conversation when they finally have the discussion, like the one woman, Kusumayu, wants to be infected. She wants to be turned. She wants to be with her family. Obviously, Lakshmi seems like she is content with her children. And same with like a lot of, obviously, Kumba is the happiest man in the world right now. So it's there. I think having family and her losing Helen is a huge, huge reason about why they're so different.
And they made it pretty explicit that all of the rest of them asked what it's like to be infected. And Carol's the only one that didn't even go that route. So that seemed like a huge part of it. At least they tried to make that a scene on Air Force One. But can I also just say that after realizing that the 12 people alive have the ability to send everybody into seizures, how do you get on a plane and assume that everybody else is chill? Because if you're flying in the air and somebody around the world yells at one of them, you're dead. Like, I don't, just like everybody else is randomly dying every time Carol does it. So that to me was in the back of my mind. Like, I would be so scared that the seizing would happen at any moment that I would never put my life in their hands or be in a situation where that could happen. But that's the learning curve, I guess, of this world that they need to get past. But yeah, like this meeting in Spain, in Bilbao, Spain, was, I was so excited at how quickly this is all happening. Do we know if this is supposed to be a multi-season show? I'm sure it is, because it seems like things are happening very quickly. But at the same time, Vince
Yeah.
Gilligan doesn't seem like he would plan this thing out for 8 years to only be one season. I'm sure that there's going to be multiple, but the
Yeah.
pace is crazy for
I
what's
can give you
happening.
that information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give you that information, Luke. Vince Gilligan said that he knows it's a multi-season show. He believes that it will go at least 3, but he's also the kind of person that is almost like the opposite of what we love about writers and
Just letting
directors,
it
that
grow.
he likes to write as he goes, but he does know what the ending is actually. So he is going to
Perfect.
fill out the middle, but he knows what the ending is going to be. So he said he doesn't want to overstay his welcome. He believes it'll be at least 3. It could go more, it could go a little less. I doubt it would be 2. So, yes, there is multi seasons. And he basically, I mean, he's got the track record. He knows when to end a show.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad could have gone on for 10 seasons if you wanted cash money, right? And when I say cash money, I usually mean awesomeness, but what I really mean is the actual money. Like if Vince
Gotcha.
Gilligan wanted money, he could have said, "All right, fine, I'll go longer." But no, he knew when to end it. We always talk about how Breaking Bad had one of the best endings ever, and there's that huge parallel to Dexter, two major anti-heroes. One went one way, one went the other way. One had the worst ending of all time. One had one of the best endings of all time.
Mhm.
Enough said. So I trust him with multi-seasons. And something I also want to talk about here with Carol is when she's talking to Zosha, Pirate Lady, about the fit that she caused, she says, like, how many people did I kill? And Zosha's sugarcoating it because that's what they do. They don't want to hurt Carol's feelings, but she does explain that people did die. Carol is sickened by it. She throws up. And later she finds out it's 11 million,
Mhm.
Insane.
which
Yeah.
around the same time that we find out that it's what 856 millions, almost a billion. So they'll give you everything you want if you ask the right questions.
Mhm.
And yeah, we have our boy Kumba coming in, and I don't know if he's our boy. I just said it that way, but he's coming in with Air Force One. He's living the dream. Like, unbelievable how this is set up. Zosha's like, I mean, nobody else asked for it, so
Yeah.
it was available.
Mhm.
And
So he wants to have this meeting on Air Force One.
what you were saying about like they'll answer whatever question you ask, and also going back to Vince loves showing that the characters act like humans. Like when they're at this dinner, we learn so many things. Like we learned that they release the animals. We learned that they don't like to kill and they can't kill. So even though Kumba asked for lobster, they won't go out and kill one. They found some, but they were alive. We learn so much about them. So Kumba is literally being us. Kumba's like, so would you step on a bug? Like, would you do that?
Yeah.
And they're giving us the answers, and that was
If I
amazing.
kill the chicken, will you
Yeah,
cook
Yeah.
it for me? Like,
it's so good. And she's saying like, no, we try not to. We may, but we'll never intentionally kill or something like that, which is exactly what we're looking for. These little tidbits of information. And with that, if I was Carol, I would just carry a bottle of bugs around with me. And if they ever like try to chase me, I would just like dump the bug, be like, you can't chase me because you can't knowingly kill bugs, and there's no way you're getting through.
and
Mhm.
the crazy thing is, they would never chase her if she just said, "Don't chase me," right? That's why this is so weird.
Yeah.
It's like they're the antagonist. We would assume they're the antagonist, but we can't really figure out how they're the antagonists yet.
Part of this too, back to our conversation about the animals and like how their infections work. I just feel like here would be the moment to not lie about it and actually like have that open discussion, which they don't really do, because like what would they do if I guess one of my questions would be like, are animals treated separately? Are they, or and like they're purposely deceiving them, like we won't kill them or we're not going to kill anything. Like what if one of the people that's awake and immune killed and infected right there at the table? Would they stop them? Would they care? Would they be like, oh
Yeah,
no,
that's
we'll mourn
interesting.
them too? Like they did a fantastic job of having some questions, but of course they need to leave some things out there. And that's where my mind's going of like, when's the other shoe going to drop? Like, obviously it doesn't have to happen in episode 2. We still know their weakness, which is crazy, which is just throwing negative emotion at them. That happens at the end of this dinner again. But there has to be some darker side to this. Otherwise, how do you milk this for 3 seasons of a story unless Carol is truly the villain and we're watching it through her eyes, which that would be a fun twist, but I just can't see it going that way. There needs to be another shoe to drop. But that's what's going to be the fun of season 1, figuring out when the turn is going to be. It could not happen until the end, into the finale. It could start slowly happening over the next couple episodes, but so far so good, man.
Yeah, and I will say Vince Gilligan, we know the deal when it comes to Marvel and the actors and Kevin Feige and anybody. When they say something, are you really going to believe it fully? But Vince Gilligan said, and he said it pretty outwardly, like, we have a problem where you're fantasizing or glamorizing villains, right?
Mhm.
He's like, I made my career off of Walter White and Jimmy McGill, Saul Goodman. He's like, I want finally to highlight a protagonist. I'm not going to say she's an angel, but she's a protagonist. Now,
Mhm.
is that true? Is he messing with us? Who knows? But it there's a lot of things that would have to be tested, for lack of a better term. Maybe I can use quote unquote drink for everybody. We haven't done that yet. Where, say somebody just keeps causing fits. Say Carol just like keeps freaking out over and over, day in, day out, day in, day out, and it's just ruining the civilization. Could they make the decision like, oh, maybe she's got to go? Or is it really in their nature to just be like, oh, you didn't mean it, Carol. So, we trust you. We know that you're not really trying to do it. Or, like you said, if one of them kills another one of the hive mind, is it okay? Are they going to say we're just going to grieve them? Or are they going to say, like, yo, we don't kill and we assume you don't kill? But again, they say you are your own person. So there's definitely a lot of nuance here and a lot we need to learn about this hive mind / infected. But I don't want to gloss over the fact that here's like the big thing with these 2 episodes, and that's just the morality of it all. Carol here is talking to everybody, and she's saying, like, how are you not freaking out like me? How are you guys okay with this? People no longer have willpower. Nobody is an individual anymore. They may tell you they're happy, but that's not your son. That's not your aunt. That's not your father. These are all people that had their bodies taken, their
Mhm.
lives taken. And we have Kumba here, who is just the walking banner for, if you had everything in the world, you're just going to take everything and make it a vice and go overboard with it, right? We obviously have the conversation about him saying, I'm walking in, there's 10 women. And it's like, well, they're not really saying yes to him. It's just, we want to make him happy. That's not really, consent, or however you want to say it. There's a lot of negatives, and Carol is like, this is wrong. And she's the only one right now that says this is wrong. And Paul, you're right. A lot of it seems like most characters are just trying to like protect their family, or they want to stay with their family, and they worry about what happens if they go the wrong way. And does it make I'm happy that my son is with me right now. And Carol's like, dude, that's not your son. He can literally perform a pelvic exam on me right now. Like, he can perform brain surgery. Like, he is
Mhm.
totally, whatever she's saying. And the people are kind of blinded by it because, again, it's a traumatic experience, but they do have their loved ones. Now, Kumba is just straight up like, yeah, this is sweet.
Mm.
He's a totally different character.
Yeah,
What are
he's
your
got like
guys' thoughts on all this?
he's got like a nuclear football, like
Yeah, he's just
randomly.
hanging out with the Air Force One. He's got the football. He's got his ladies. Like, he calls in Carol and he's like, yo, I'm really interested in Zosha. That's the only reason why I stayed after your freak out. I just need your permission because Zosha won't go with me unless you give permission. And Carol's like, do you even understand what you're saying to me right now? You're talking to me about my permission for her to go with you? And she's like, you, meaning Zosha, you decide. And Zosha's like, literally, I can't. I can't
Mhm.
hurt you. I can't hurt him. It's unbelievable. It's very crazy.
I can't decide if that I think that this is going to take, not to bring up The Walking Dead again, but like to use that as a parallel where the story could still be the humans versus the humans, with the zombies or the hive mind being the background of the world that makes it a fun, unique, fictional world. But it's more a feature of the story rather than the main part. And it does come down to Carol versus these other people. But I'm kind of stepping away from that because taking a break the fourth wall point of view here, the other actors besides Kumba and maybe Locksmith don't strike me as they can be villains to Carol in this
Right.
show. So like I kind of want to avoid saying that. Maybe Kumba could. Like he could become that. And Lakshmi obviously already hates Carol for what she did to the grandfather and her emotional outburst and all that. But that's just me spitballing. Like they could have
Yeah.
taken that route where it is humans versus humans, and everything that we're getting from the hive mind is actually legitimately true, and like they're being truthful about all that. But who knows? I really can't see. I'm still stuck in the mindset where this is Black Mirror, and it's really going to be something either extraterrestrial, evil, or like something dark and twisted needs to happen at some point. Yeah.
Dark and twisted, nice.
Mhm.
You were talking about
R.I.P.
humans versus humans, and that's what I was getting. I was really worried about because Carol has his second freak out. We look over, all of the family members are seizing, and then obviously Carol continues to drink, wakes up the next morning, and calls Zosha on the phone, says like, "How badly did I mess up?" And in my head, I'm like, worst case scenario is you mess up so badly they saw their family seizing. They were worried that you are going to be an issue for them going forward, that they are now talking about killing you
Mhm.
for the
Yeah.
safety
Yeah.
of their own family. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that could easily happen. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
that raises so many more questions too. Like if Carol says to Zosha, protect me, and Kumba is like saying to Zosha, kill Carol. She can't make the decision, but can you just get your own armies of people?
Well, they
Because
won't hurt anybody ever.
So if Kumba
true.
says kill her, she can't do anything. But if Carol says protect me, that's an interesting thing because can they cause violence if they're protecting someone that
Yeah,
asks
that's a
them for
good question.
protection? But I don't know. And it's a great point. The Walking Dead, we are the Walking Dead, meaning the actual people, not the zombies, right? It's a character story. I could definitely see that. And there could be scenarios where, again, we got the number 11. Then all of a sudden it was 12. Could there be 15? Could there be
Mhm.
20? And somehow they haven't found these people yet. And are those people going to be more of the main characters at some point? Maybe Kumba stays the main character. Maybe some of the others do. But really, we haven't met some of the other main characters yet. I mean, obviously, there's a lot on the board here. And I mean, for the thousandth time, Carol is a good person. Deep down, she calls, and the first thing she says is like, "How bad did I mess up?" And she's meaning, like, obviously, who did she hurt, but also with the people that are left. And we already talked about this. Kumba was the only one who stayed, and he only wanted to stay because he wanted permission for Zosha. And Zosha here, another creepy ass thing where Carol's like, you guys can get out, and I'm going to have a one-on-one with Kumba. And while they're having this conversation, and I already said it basically everything Carol says, like, this is ridiculous that you're asking me for my permission to literally have Zosha. While this is all going on, it's like she's just turned off in the corner until she's called for.
Mhm.
Zosha. Like Zosha just standing there against the wall, and then Kumba's like, "Hey Zosha, come on in here." And then she like kind of like turns and comes in, and then he's like, "Have I ever been unforward or untowards to you?" And it's like, of course, based on what she's gonna say, "Nah, you're good, bro." But I
Yeah.
kind of felt like there was a little bit of a break there where her eyes were saying like, I don't like what you're doing, but I have to say yes. I don't know. Was I looking into it too much? I don't know. Did you notice any weirdness with Zosha there?
I think a part of it too was she didn't want to answer because if she answered, she would upset Carol a little bit because it's not
Yeah,
that.
that could be it. Right.
But
She can't. Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying though. It could be some underlying thing where they're like, it's almost like what is it? The movie where they're like trapped within their own
Yeah. Yeah.
subconscious or
Get out.
whatever.
Is it Get Out or is it
Yeah, yeah, get out.
yeah,
But like
Jordan Peele?
but what you see is a smiling face and stuff like that. I could
Right.
see something
Mhm.
like that going on, and somehow you're able to cure them or set them free or something like that. But this whole conversation with it was just again answering more questions about they can't choose. Basically, you can put them in a loop if they'll just freeze up. And I thought it was interesting that Carol just says, just go leave or whatever, and then finally later on she changes her mind. But I was curious of, do you think she's joining them on the trip to Vegas, or do you think she just wants to get Zosha back?
I think she wants Zosha back.
Okay.
I think it makes sense for them to go to Vegas though, because of just the real world implications of
Staying with
filming, like,
that's true.
filming in America and not Spain. Because if they're staying there, like, are they
Well,
going to
no, I
shoot
think
on site?
she's on her way back to Albuquerque on her
But,
plane.
but she
So
got
I was
off.
saying, yeah, but I'm saying she got off to get Zosha to come with her, and then just go home with Zosha.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
That's
hoping.
my thought. I mean, I think yours makes a lot of sense too, because for better or for worse, the only person that she has that's not infected is Kumba. So why would you not want to be with someone so you can maybe convince him, yeah, we got
Yeah,
to
yeah,
figure
yeah.
this out. So
Mhm.
it definitely could go either way. Now, Paul, this is a question for you because I actually was going to jump in and then you kind of answered the question. I may have missed this. Luke, you said this is an instant reaction from us. We wanted to get this out as soon as possible for everybody. Did Carol actually say like yes, not yes go, but did she basically say to Zosha go? I thought she kind of just stormed out because my biggest question was going to be how did Zosha actually make that decision? Because I didn't think Carol explicitly said, "Fine, you can go." I thought she just stormed out, but did she say it and I missed it?
I think it was more kind of that, like,
Like
whatever,
implied?
like, you can go.
Yeah.
Like she didn't want it, but she said it, and
Okay, so
they're
she did say you can go some and along those lines somehow.
loosely, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Because that was my question because these people seem so robotic that Zosha says, like, I can't go with you until Carol says yes. And I
Yeah.
can't not go with you until Carol says no. I can't make this decision. You guys need to figure this out. And I took it like she just stormed out without an answer. So that's why I was like, that is weird that she did make a decision. But I guess if you could say that it's implied, I mean, what I'm getting at is if they're very robotic, like you need to outwardly say it, that's
I,
more that we're gonna have to learn about the rules here.
Mm.
I think there's wiggle room there. They're still biological beings, unless the twist is that they are truly robotic. I don't see it having to stick to rules in that way, like we're
Okay.
talking murder bot or anything like that. But it could turn into that. Right now, I'm thinking they still have some agency in how they react and how they talk and bring things up. But who knows? That's a question for when we have more information.
So basically, like I was saying with the craziness of the person that was outside when Carol was in her house trying to lock up the house and cover the windows, the person knew to look right at Carol and wave. This one was kind of easy because she's obviously the only one in the plane, but Zosha looked right at her longingly pretty much, gave her the wave, and then Carol freaks out finally and goes in front of Air Force One and says, stop. Now, my thought process was that you literally just talk to anyone on your plane and say, tell the hive mind to tell the pilot to stop. But
Mhm.
it's very cinematic to have Carol go out in front of the plane and say, everybody stop. But that's the end of the episode. We already talked about the possibilities if she's going to go to Vegas or if she's just going to bring Zosha with her. Luke, I'm going to bring it to you first. Anything specifically that we didn't talk about question wise, theory wise, before we end the episode?
Mhm. Well, first of all, you got to shout out Wayfair as the airline of what she's on, because that is the same airline that's used in the Breaking Bad universe. Probably means nothing. It's just a little nod, but that's always going to be Reddit theory town over there saying, "Oh, this is like the future
Same
of."
universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Which doesn't work anyway. But anyway, wanted to shout that out. My crackpot theory that I have working right now that will probably be destroyed the next time you're listening to episode 3 of us talk about this show. But nothing that happened in this episode dissuades what I'm about to say. And I'm working under the theory. Originally, I was going to say aliens, but they kind of they shoved that in your face so much that it feels weird to have that being the leading theory. I like the idea that currently everything is a simulation, and what
Mm.
the genome or the 4 lines of coding was that's infecting everybody could literally be computer code that's actually working on everybody in the simulation, and the 12 plus people that are unaffected are either what is being tested with the code or their bugs in the system. Like, that could just be a fun answer. I don't actually believe it yet, but there's nothing that points me away from that, because I have no idea what's going on. Like, I'm sure you guys.
Dude, it wouldn't be a sci-fi podcast if you didn't bring out the simulation. Somebody's got to bring up the simulation
Right.
theory, and this one works for it too. Like, I agree. It could be one time a show's going to do it, and we're going to
Mhm.
get got, because we always say, here's the simulation theory. It's probably wrong. And they're just going to reverse psychology us and actually get us with it. But I mean, again, I'm in. I don't see any reason why it can't be that for now. Paul, what are your thoughts, or do you have any theories?
I mean, yeah, I wasn't even thinking that macro, that big, but I do like it just because it could just be, yeah, so micro. We're just seeing this little tiny story, but it's way bigger than that, and I like it. Of course, my thought was, aliens still, but
Mhm.
even they like confirmed it wasn't aliens. It's just extraterrestrial technology that is affecting them. But they said technology, so of course you go to simulation. That could be one of the things. So I dig it.
I mean, extraterrestrial technology. I mean, I don't remember the exact wording, but Davis Tafler, the presidential stand-in, basically said, like, this isn't aliens. Like, he basically said aliens exist.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
Just,
Mhm.
So my theory here is that aliens do exist, and the beacon is coming from an alien civilization, and it can go multiple ways. Like, there could be different branches of this theory, but what if sending this, for lack of a better term, infection for this hive mind exists? So we're talking War of the Worlds, we're talking anything you think when it comes to aliens, where they're just trying to take over Earth. What if they want to pacify the world before they show up, so that it won't be a war? It'll just be like, they're here. Thank you for showing
Mhm.
up, right? I think that's a little, I don't want to say obvious, or simple, but that would make aliens be the antagonist technically, because
Yeah.
they're trying to take over the world, but they're trying to do it peacefully.
I kind of agree. I could see something like that happening just because I was thinking more of like the humans versus animals aspect of it. And by releasing a lot of the animals, by releasing the zoo animals, they even said that some humans got mauled by the tigers and lions that they released.
Yeah,
So it's like they care more about animal life than they do these human lives. So is the goal just to eradicate humans in general? There are some, outliers, some leftovers, these 12 individuals, but we can't take them out because if we upset them, they immediately shut us down. So we have to slowly get them to agree to let us infect them to wipe out humanity altogether and let animal kingdom environment nature get back to like ruling. It's weird. It could
yeah. I
be.
mean, I guess technically, like you're saying, like, say you antagonize these 12 people, 13 people, and you're
You're done.
trying to kill them. Say you try to chase them, like you said, Paul. If they freak out and have negative emotions, it just ruins the rest of the hive mind. So it
You
would
need
have
it.
to be like a sneaky poison. Like, there's ways to kill them without upsetting them. But one
Mhm.
last thing before we go here. I think this will be more of a conversation once we get more information, but I'm so interested, especially with when you said, Luke, that you're taking them at face value, because we have this hive mind, and you would think we would have to have an antagonist here. And I took it fully like, yes, they're being truthful mostly, but I took it like I guess it's the lens you're watching it in, right? Like, I took it as like they're lying at certain times. Like,
Well, like that is just like in your way you were saying that the alien theory, like that's the easy, simple answer. That's how I feel about them
yeah,
lying. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess it could be. I'm just hoping it's not that, because it's more interesting writing to have them be truthful when most shows would make them the opposite. Like, and it would be obvious that they're
right.
lying. And they still could be. Of course they could be. Anything could happen at this point of the show.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I just want to say I'm so happy we're here. It was a
Hmm.
blast. One last thing I want to call out is when Carol says you don't ask a drug dealer to describe their heroin. Nice clap back to all the people that were saying, like, how could you not have asked? Guys, the core podcast is here, and we're covering Pluribus. We cover all things Apple TV. We have a lot of coverage coming. We have weekly news episodes talking about trailers, release dates, check-ins on shows that we aren't fully covering. I'm watching The Last Frontier and Down Cemetery Road. We're going to have that weekly, but we're also going to be, of course, weekly covering Pluribus. So hit that subscribe button. Let us know in the Spotify or the Discord, bingetowntv.com/Discord, if you want to talk theories, questions, etc. Who knows if this ends up being like Severance, we may have a section of the podcast at the end where we do a mailbag or something separate. Who knows what it could be? So there's a lot of potential with this show, guys. With Severance and with Pluribus, our theory that Apple TV could take over in the next couple of years is looking pretty good. So, we don't want to be hyperbolic here, but this was a great first 2 episodes. So, guys, once again, we are the Core Podcast covering all things Apple TV. And thank you so much for listening.